Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, hear about a new law that critics say will hamper the ability to fight crimes around convenience stores. We'll get our monthly update of news from south of the Gila in Southern Exposure, and we'll take a video tour of a local Andy Warhol exhibit. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A new Arizona Consumer Confidence Index released by the Behavior Research Center shows no improvement in consumer sentiment since the start of the year, with only 25% of residents believing that business conditions will improve over the next 2 quarters. Maricopa County residents showed the highest degree of optimism as opposed to Pima County, where the index fell to its lowest level in 3 years. Overall, the survey shows that Arizona consumers remain less optimistic about the economy and an improved job market than the nation as a whole. A bill was signed into law last month that bans municipalities from adopting ordinances that require a retail business to comply with specific security requirements. Critics say it will hamper the ability of cities to fight crime around convenience stores. Here to tell us more is ASU criminology professor Charles Katz. We should note that a representative in support of the law initially agreed to appear on the program, but then today decided to decline our offer. Thank you for being here. We do appreciate this. What does this new law do?
This law places fairly substantial restrictions on what cities or municipalities can do to institute ordinances to address crime within their communities at convenience stores.
And the reason for this law was because Mesa had put in an ordinance targeting certain convenience stores, correct?
Correct. There's a long history to this. It's a 4-year history. Mesa has been working very diligently. The police department has been working very diligently with a number of convenience stores within the community, as well as 5 other communities have been working to address convenience store crime. Unfortunately, most of this is about one corporation. It's about Circle K. Some of the issues that have come up around Circle K, they were the sponsors of the bill. They wrote the bill. As a result, this conversation is really less about convenience stores, and it's more about Circle K and the police and municipal ordinances.
So as far as the ordinance in Mesa, though, what did they do? What stores did they target, and what did they tell those stores they needed to do?
Well, it really hits 2 ways. One is if it's a new store, it's required to have certain specifications. It has to have video cameras. It has to have lighting on the outside, on the inside. It's not allowed to have windows covered. Sometimes you'll see beer posters on windows and the such. They want to make it where they created it where new stores have to be, the police have to be able to see inside, citizens can see inside, but also with stores that have already been built, it instituted some required security measures if a location experienced 30 or more calls for service a year.
Yeah, it sounds like averaging 30 or more calls a year, correct?
Over a 3-year period.
Okay, that ordinance was put into place when?
A few years ago, 2-3 years ago.
And what kind of results since then?
Fantastic results. They've seen a dramatic decline in calls for service. Arrests are up 30%, and there's several reasons for that, some of which have to do with the lighting that they instituted. One of them is training of the employees. Mesa Police Department instituted a training program in which convenience store workers or employees were required to receive training at a particular time. Also, they required safes to be put in, where drop safes where money could not be robbed from the store.
So you've got a group of folks, really one group of folks, saying, I would imagine that all of this extra security, all of these requirements costs money, correct?
Well, there is some financial cost to it. If a store does have 30 or more calls a year for 3 years in a row, it costs about $3,000 to institute these changes. While that may seem like quite a bit of money for some folks, the fact of the matter is with the corporations that are out there, with the mom and pop stores that are out there, for the most part, they can comply with it and address those issues.
As far as security requirements on retail, the idea of the bill was to make sure, the bill that became law, was to make sure that those requirements are uniform and consistent around the state. Valid concern?
Sure, of course. You do want to make sure that there's some uniformity so that everybody is on the same page, but that's also what the Mesa Ordinance was designed to do, was to make sure that people knew who the owner of the store was, to know who they had to contact if there was a problem, to make sure that there was uniformity, that every store had an address on it so that if the police needed to respond to a store, they would know where that store was located, as well as see the numbers on the store. And so it really was, the Mesa Ordinance was created so that you would have greater uniformity and that it would lead to greater police protection.
But what happens in Mesa may not be the same thing that happens in Glendale, may not be the same thing that happens in Peoria, correct?
Correct, but the interesting part is they're all experiencing the same problems with the same corporation. You have 5 cities that have come together: Phoenix, Peoria, Glendale, Tempe, Mesa, and what they all found was that Circle K's represent a very small proportion of the stores. What I mean by a small percent, about 25% of the convenience stores, but they're responsible for 75% of the calls for service out there. And so what you really had was a few stores that were responsible for the majority of crime within convenience stores. The mom and pop stores experience very few calls for service, have very little crime, in part because mom and pop stores are very guarded against crime. They're very concerned about it. It can be their kid, their nephew, their niece who's working. They want to make sure that crime does not occur, so they're very vigilant about the issue.
So they have the security requirements already in place?
Oftentimes more so, yes.
Okay, the idea again though that it's not fair to base these requirements on the size of the business, it's not fair to base these requirements on the type of business, and it's wrong to base requirements on the number of calls to police. Are these all valid concerns?
I think that folks need to keep them into keep them in mind and to consider these types of issues. But we also have the needs of the community and the needs of safety with the employees, safety of the citizens around those communities. And when we have a balance of the safety of the citizenry and the employees, we need to also consider those types of issues.
We've had folks that are supporting this law and did not want to appear on the program after initially agreeing to do so, basically saying your research in particular is flawed and has been pointed out publicly to be flawed. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm not sure it has been pointed out publicly. There's never been anything in print that we've been able to find. There's said to be one study. The fact is the study, my colleague and myself, Mike White, this work has been published in peer-reviewed journals. It's been reviewed. People have received awards as a consequence of this project. Agencies have received additional funding to institute like projects. This is based on an evidence-based policing that is being used in hundreds of agencies across. It's nothing special or unique in terms of what we did.
What are you hearing from police departments?
That they're really interested in seeing Circle K reform, what it is that they're up to, and be willing to work with the police in addressing their concerns.
And you think that this new law will hamper crime-fighting possibilities?
What it does is it takes a tool away. In this particular case, the reason why that ordinance was put into place is because the Circle K Corporation refused to call back police departments in town. They refused to talk to them, they wouldn't show up to meetings, they wouldn't return phone calls, and as a result, it left the city with no other option other than to institute an ordinance. So it was really their last effort to try to get, to increase safety in certain communities.
All right, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The Colorado River has carved over 600 miles of canyons in southern Utah and northern Arizona. As sublime as these chasms are, to travelers, they pose a seemingly insurmountable problem. Just how do you get to the other side? A highway marker on US 89A commemorates a successful effort that for nearly 60 years did just that, Lee's Ferry. Mormon pioneer John D. Lee came here in 1871. He established a ferry service across the Colorado River at the only natural point for 600 miles. Lee, seen here seated on his coffin, was executed in 1877 for his role in the Mountain Meadows Massacre, when 120 immigrants heading to California were murdered in Utah. The ferry operated for 52 more years, transporting thousands of hikers, horses, wagons, and even small automobiles across the river. Only the railroad and finally in 1929, the Navajo Bridge made Lee's Ferry obsolete. Today, the original Navajo Bridge is reserved for pedestrians, while the new Navajo Bridge, built beside it in 1995, caters to cars and trucks. While the ferry itself is long gone, the name remains. Lee's Ferry is now the terminus for thousands of awestruck sightseers rafting on the mighty Colorado River.
Once a month, we take a look at issues from southern Arizona and the Tucson area in our series Southern Exposure. Here now is Tucson Weekly senior writer Jim Ninsel. Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure. I read it at Captain America and Iron Man downstairs. So
oh, really? Yeah, it's
them
that time of year, yes. For us here. All right, let's get to another type of science fiction, perhaps, and that is politics. Ann Kirkpatrick announces that she's running for the U.S. Senate. Now, CD1, her district, does run in southern Arizona, some of the outskirts of the Tucson area and such. Talk to us about this.
Well, it is a big roll of the dice for Kirkpatrick, of course, going up against John McCain, who's a mighty titan of politics here in the state. But she's probably the most formidable person to announce a campaign against him in perhaps all of his history here. You know, a lot of questions still remain about what this district's going to look like because of this lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court over whether or not the lawmakers should be drawing these districts instead of the Independent Redistricting Commission. So all of that said, if the district remains in its current form, you have a number of people, but I haven't heard many southern Arizona names coming up, people who are interested in this, but you're certainly hearing names on the Democratic side like Chris DeShaney, a former state lawmaker, Catherine Miranda, who serves in the legislature, Barb McGuire, who also serves in the legislature, a lot of lawmakers. I mean, this is the big brass ring of politics, the congressional seat, and they don't come around that often.
Indeed. So. But you mentioned southern Arizona, and a couple of names have popped up to a certain degree. Now, House Speaker David Gowan, Representative Gowan has, Speaker Gowan, has shown interest in Congress before, perhaps waiting out Martha McSally, perhaps taking on, who knows how he feels, but my understanding is he might be interested in this.
There was a rumor earlier this year as this lawsuit was going through that if the lawmakers did get a chance to draw the districts, he was going to draw a very conservative district that he could do very well in and try to move Martha McSally, the former Air Force pilot and squadron commander who just beat Ron Barber by 167 votes down in Tucson this last year, out of that district into Raul Grijalva's district in the hopes of winning that. But you know, I don't. Martha's proven to be an extraordinary fundraiser and is very popular among some of the Republicans down there. So I think he'd have a pretty tough shot.
So he might be interested in CD. What about Jonathan Payton, Frank Antonori? These are names we haven't heard in a while, but we're hearing they could show some interest.
Well, Frank has not lost the bug, certainly. I mean, he's looking to run for the legislature again. He wants to move into a different district than the one he currently lives in Tucson. That's a much more Republican-leaning district to run again, the district that David Gowan now represents. But Jonathan Payton has moved up to Scottsdale. He could certainly do it again, okay. But whether or not he'd have still have the fire in his belly remains to be seen. You also have Andy Tobin, who ran last time. Gary Keeney, the rancher, has already started a campaign. You hear Paul Babu, the sheriff of Pinal County, is thinking about it. He was certainly interested before until that whole underwear model photo popped up and it caused him no end of trouble.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of politics, mayor's race. So how's the mayor's race in Tucson shaping up?
Well, it's looking very good for our current incumbent, Jonathan Rothschild. The filing deadline was yesterday, and not a single person filed to run against him. The Republicans were looking around for a candidate. At the last minute, one surfaced. Unfortunately, he was a lefty Democrat who had run a few years ago for city council. He didn't get his signatures. There was a film producer who was thinking about doing it, but he had trouble getting his signatures. And so Jonathan Rothschild's walking to re-election this year.
Is he that strong? What kind of a politician? What are his positions? Who is he?
That's a great question. He's an attorney, a corporate attorney who first won office 4 years ago, and in that race also faced an unusual collection of potential opponents, most of whom got kicked off the ballot for various reasons. I think the real problem Republicans have in the city of Tucson is that it's a very Democratic city. There's about 3 Democrats for every 2 Republicans. So the odds are against you going into these races. We have partisan elections, unlike the city of Phoenix. So it is a very tough climb for a Republican.
All right, I want to get to the economy now. And we talked earlier in the show, we did a headline on consumer confidence. It is in the dumpsters in Tucson. I mean, the rest of the state is flat, but Tucson is not showing much consumer confidence from the Behavior Research Center poll. We did find out 1,100 jobs coming to Tucson by way of Comcast. These are call center jobs, so these are not necessarily the highest apples on the tree. What is the economy like in Tucson?
Well, let me first say anything that helps me get through the Comcast people a little quicker when I call is good news. But you're right. I don't think these are the best jobs in the world. I mean, a job is a job, and it's good to have one. But these are not something to really get too excited about. And the job situation in Tucson is tough. We don't have a lot of really great, high-paying jobs. We have Raytheon. We have IBM, which is shedding employees, and we have the government jobs. The university jobs of working for the county, working for the city of Tucson, and even those jobs are harder to come by because the governments have been cutting back. The cuts to the university have been pretty severe this last year. We've certainly talked a lot about that.
Are there efforts? Because indeed, I mean, aerospace, I think lost 800 jobs over the past year. U of A is losing $28 million in funding. Are there efforts otherwise? Are there groups getting together saying, doing something, get some sort of initiative going, get some sort of drive, public event? What's happening down there to get jobs?
They're focusing a lot on the biosciences, and that's had some good results. We do have some good jobs developing in the high-tech area, but there just aren't enough of them.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, every time we have you on, we play music by Calexico. Probably my favorite Arizona band, based in Tucson for the most part. They have new record coming out.
New record came out last month. It's a really terrific record, recorded in Tucson at Wavelab Studios downtown, where Calexico does a lot of its recording. I was able to sit in on a few of the sessions, and it's a terrific album. They're on tour now. They just announced a Phoenix date in early October, so you get your tickets now at the Crescent Ballroom, our favorite Phoenix club.
Yes, Charlie Levy. Tucson music scene in general, rich history, always strong. We've talked about Tucson being pretty much a college town, and college towns that usually have good music scene. Tucson, no exception. What's it looking like these days?
It's looking good. Calexico's one element of it. Giant Sand, Hal Gelb's longtime band, just released its 30th anniversary album on New West Records, so he's still going strong down there. There's Sergio Mendoza, who plays with Calexico and plays with Hal from time to time, and he has his own band, Orquesta Mendoza, who's a great party band, and a lot of really great acts, and they all kind of intermingle with each other. There's a lot of collaboration across with these bands, and then at the same time, a lot of really great touring bands will come through Tucson, thanks to the aforementioned Charlie Levy and my friend Curtis McCrary at the Rialto Theater, and my friend David Slutz at Hotel Congress. Really managed to bring a huge amount of music through Tucson.
All right. Well, it's good to see you again. Thanks for driving up. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Andy Warhol notably predicted that in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. Warhol's own fame has lasted a lot longer. Producer Shauna Fisher and photographer Kyle Mounds take us to the Phoenix Art Museum for an exhibition of Warhol's portraits.
Andy Warhol is the very definition of art imitating life. His portraits were of celebrities who often became his friends, and his time in the New York club scene is legendary. But that was just a small part of who Warhol really was, according to curator Jerry Smith.
Yeah, Andy Warhol is an individual. He grew up from an immigrant family living in Pittsburgh, in blue-collar, working-class Pittsburgh. He had a nervous disorder that kept him out of school quite often. And he spent that time when he was home alone reading movie magazines and making clippings and sketchbooks of movie stars. And he had this early obsession with film.
He also loved to sketch, and his mother encouraged him.
So when he graduated college, he went to New York, and in the 1950s, he was one of the most popular, sought-after commercial illustrators, and was making upwards of $150,000 a year in the 1950s.
During that time, he connected with many celebrities. They would pose for him, and he would turn that photo into a work of art. He utilized a silk screening technique that we now appreciate as something distinctly his.
His main emphasis was using the silk screen process of taking a photograph, just like you find in a newspaper, and having it made into a silk screen and then running ink through the screen to create the image. And that's why you see variations in images, because he used these silk screens that would get clogged with the ink, or the registration of the colors wouldn't be exact, and he encouraged that.
Nearly 200 portraits are on display in this exhibition, from Sylvester Stallone to prima ballerina Heather Watts. Along with portraits, there are Warhol's early works, pencil sketches, and ink drawings.
Putting together this exhibition was a lot of fun because of the bright colors in the work. We went through a palette of different things and selected blues and pinks and purples and yellows that are very vibrant and indicate colors you find in the work, and yet they have a real 80s feel to them. And also, with the color, we wanted to kind of play with the ideas that you find in the art, which is the registration of colors don't always line up. So we weren't necessarily completely concerned with if a painting would be perfectly on one color or another.
Warhol was also an avant-garde filmmaker. In a room is a look at his movies and screen tests. There's also an area where you can do your own screen test. An old-fashioned Bolex film camera sits on a tripod and records you. Then the screen test is emailed to you. There are other areas where you become part of the exhibit, like the Silver Clouds room.
Warhol wanted this idea of sculpture that floated. And initially he was thinking light bulb, but that took too much effort to try to create a design. So he ended up making silver clouds, which are these silver mylar balloons that float. And he would have those floating about in his silver factory of his studio space that was lined with aluminum foil and silver paint, and these balloons would be floating about, and the Velvet Underground, the band that he produced, would be playing, and these balloons going and films playing across everything, and it was a full-on experience.
There's also the selfie wall with wallpaper featuring images of Warhol. You can take a photo here and post on social media.
What would Andy Warhol do with social media? I really believe that if Andy Warhol were alive today, we probably wouldn't even be calling them selfies. We'd be calling them Andys, because he would have had them out there. We would have Warholograms, not Instagram. I think he would have eaten that up.
Smith says, contrary to what many people believe, Warhol wasn't overly into the social scene. He worked very long hours. And it's that emphasis on the work that Smith believes is the reason Warhol's fame has lasted longer than 15 minutes.
There is often a divide between the artist and the work in our own time, but I think we see these works and we get it. We get it, they're bright, they're colorful, they're fun, and people enjoy them. And I think that's one of the reasons Andy Warhol, or many of the reasons Andy Warhol is so famous still today.
The Warhol portraits are on display until June 21st.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. We'll discuss Ann Kirkpatrick's decision to run for John McCain's U.S. Senate seat, and we'll look at how that decision and resulting open congressional seat impacts state politics. Those stories Friday on the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.